What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Straight Facts, a sports show that educates and entertains, brought to you by the Up On Game Presents Network. As always, make sure you're following them on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts and your content. Go check them boys out, because you can check these boys out. Jimmy J with my guys, Jake Galley and Stat Matt Robinson. They love to do this to me, y'all. They love to tell me oh, James, I got a good at the buzzer at the end of the episode. And then Jake goes, I don't think you're going to like this one. So just like Matt did 2 weeks ago, I'm just going to be sitting in suspense for an hour. And then Jake is going to unveil some grand at the buzzer. It better be good, man. If you're,
I saw
like this.
I'll just little hint. I came across a stat on Twitter that will allow me to talk my talk as I usually do on this podcast. So it's a little sneak peek.
Delusion. That's what you saw.
That's
what you saw. And Matt said he has a heartwarming one. So that's good. I thought you were going to update us on, you have the Liverpool shirt on. So I thought you were going to update us on soccer again at the buzzer.
That's still preseason.
That's true. That shows you how unplugged I am to the soccer season. But guess what? It's almost preseason for the sport of football that everyone in America watches. And that's American football, because training camp just started for a whole bunch of teams. So that natural excitement, that natural anticipation for football is coming around the corner. And I know a lot of teams are feeling it. Our two teams in particular, two Eagles fans and a Bucks fan, have made some pretty good additions that has our fan bases hyped. So we're going to stay on that side of the conference on the NFC, and we're going to talk about the new additions, NFC addition to these teams, and just see who's new to these teams' training camps. And are they going to have as big of impact as we think, or are they going to have an impact at all? Bring it in. So we'll start right here in Philly for addressing, which is, I believe, the third or fourth time on this podcast, but it can't be stated enough about the Eagles going and getting A.J. Brown in this trade. Just to summarize it again, they sent the 2022 first and fourth for A.J. Brown and then signed him to a 4-year, $100 million contract, which in the NFL for a receiver is what we call buku bucks. So you guys gave that boy a bag, but for good reason. And the question we're going to probably frame all these new additions to is, what type of impact is this addition going to have to the new team? So Matt, go ahead and talk your stuff first, man. What is AJ Brown? How does AJ Brown really beef up the Eagles?
Honestly, it's great that we have it's a security blanket wide receiver. We haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Jeremy Maclin in 2014. And Jordan Matthews got close one year. We had Ertz got 1,000, but he's a tight end. And having just that big body, it's such a great safety valve for a developing quarterback like Jalen Hurts. When you have someone like AJ Brown, who really likes Jalen Hurts, they're actually good friends. Mm-hmm. And has played his career with a quarterback that isn't the best in Ryan Tannehill, he still put up numbers. So I don't expect, if Hurts struggles, Brown will still put up really good numbers. And it's just he's 24. The fact that he's this young is so fantastic. Every time I think about the trade, I like it more.
I was just going to say that, Matt. One, it's shocking how young he is. I was he's the veteran calming present. No, he's 24. He is a couple years younger than I am.
But he still has that feeling to him of coming in as the calming veteran to kind of, almost last piece to the puzzle kind of scenario thing. He has that vibe around him.
And I think played in an AFC title game.
Right. He has experience, and I also think it's because of the team he's coming to. Compared to the past couple years of wide receiver core, this is the best honestly, this is the best talent at wide receiver the Eagles have had since Terrell Owens, going all the way back almost 20 years ago, just about. So I think that this is a guy who's going to allow the Eagles to do a lot of things they thought they were going to be able to do with Jalen Reagor. A guy who you can throw the ball to, let him run past people. A guy who can run past people, you bomb it over the top. And low-key, I think they're going to hand the ball to him a little bit. Nick Sirianni loves wide receiver core. He was a wide receiver coach over in Indianapolis, loves to get his wide receivers involved. And I think, with an offense like the Eagles, where you probably are going to want to run the ball a lot, having that kind of offbeat play where you can hand it. Maybe it's Quez Watkins, maybe it's AJ Brown. He actually only has 5 career carries, which I thought he was used way more in Tennessee. Maybe I'm just imagining Jonnu Smith, but either way, I think that they're going to get him the ball in a lot of unique spots and let him kind of work his magic. And for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, that is invaluable.
Yeah. I mean, he's a go-get-it receiver. Like, he's wide body, big target, and not many cornerbacks are going to be able to beat him physically to the football. And I think it's almost funny because he has experience and good success with a not so great quarterback. And people have, kind of question marks of how good Jalen Hurts is going to be in the league, especially coming in this year. Well, it's not like AJ Brown is coming from, a pro, or, he's coming from a Pro Bowl quarterback, but not coming from an all pro quarterback, or not coming from an MVP type quarterback. He's coming from a quarterback who, can be looked at as very middle of the pack and doesn't throw super high volume. So he's used to making the most out of the certain few number of targets he's going to get per game. And I think he was able to help Ryan Tannehill in this way that he's going to help Jalen Hurts. Like, Ryan Tannehill isn't known for throwing the ball deep downfield. But yet you look at A.J. Brown's production, and he has these chunk plays in his resume, like one of just 3 wide receivers to average more than 10 yards per target on at least 250 targets in the last 25 years. So I give you that stat, and you're like, oh, he played with Josh Allen? Like, oh, he played with Pat Mahomes? Like, no, he played with Ryan Tannehill. So he's still able to, and we could just be honest. Those 10-plus yards targets aren't all, right on the money throws. They're not throws with smoke behind them. These are balls that he's had to go and get from defenders. It's not putting it in a handbasket for him. And I think he's going to have to continue to exercise that muscle and help Jalen Hurts come along. And I think that's going to make the Eagles offense look better. I think it's going to help Jalen Hurts progress. Like, that's the receiver you guys haven't been willing to go get forever. You've been willing to go get the speedster. You've been willing to go get the possession jump ball receiver and Alshon Jeffrey, but you haven't gone and got this guy. I'm just more of a specimen at receiver than you, and you finally went and got him.
Well, that guy's not always out on the market to go get. That's why I think Howard Roseman was so aggressive in going out, not only trading the 1st and 4th for him, but also then on top of that, like you said, James, you have to give him all this money, but I do think it's worth it. And just wanted to touch back and frame my point about making sure that A.J. Brown is touching the ball. Deebo Samuel last year, people raved that the Niners were giving him the ball behind the line of scrimmage. He touched the ball 136 times and averaged 13 yards per touch. Insanity, right? Mm-hmm. So that's 136 touches in a year. A.J. Brown has got 190 touches for his career. Over 3 years, 190 touches. So when you look at trying to get them, when you're paying a guy $25 million a year, number one, and then looking to
the rock.
Right, he's gonna touch it. You're gonna touch the football a lot, and so that's what, as an Eagles fan and as someone who is kind of bullish on this Eagles offense, like that's the big gain of value in adding a guy like A.J. Brown. Is now you can kind of go any which way, and it's going to end up decent as long as he's getting his hands on the rock.
Yeah. So if you just look at the Eagles, they're a team that runs the ball a lot. A.J. Brown's fine with that, even though wide receivers are known to be, give me the ball, give me the ball. He played with Derrick Henry when he had 2,000 yards. Like, that's not going to be a thing when we call runs for Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts and whoever we decide to run the ball with. And so we had the number 1 run game in the NFL, an historically good run game, but if you look like post week 7. And we have a developing Devontae Smith, who had a very good rookie year, and we got an all-pro wide receiver in A.J. Brown. So that means our developing wide receiver gets less attention, like our good developing wide receiver. So it's
more one-on-one opportunities.
And Jason Kelce, they convinced to come back. So the running game, the O-line stays the same. It's really, really promising, and I'm just afraid of getting my hopes up.
Okay, here's what I'll push back on. Here's what I'll bring you back down to earth a little bit. Yes, he's okay with having a running offense when my running back is the best running back in the NFL. Like you said, 2,000 yards. Miles Sanders ain't touching 2,000 yards, man. This is 850 to 900 yards per season is what we're getting out of Miles Sanders. So what do you see anything changing? does A.J. Brown being in the offense make you guys throw the ball more? Or does it help the run game because I can't flood the box too much? I got to have some help because I have weapons at receiver. Which one do you see more?
That's a great question. I think that they'll probably stick to the formula they had last year, where they were one of the most dominant run teams in the NFL. Look,
on accident, low key on accident.
Well, not even on accident. It was against literally opposite of what they were trying to do for the.
That's what I mean. Right. That's what I mean.
Right. And but once they started running the football and realizing like, hey, we've got a lot of physical bodies, we can beat a lot of teams up. Hey, they might be better at football than us, but we're stronger and we're faster, and that's really what matters. So like, they found something that works in that formula. I think what AJ Brown does within that is benefit from the fact that, hey, the Eagles are going to be in some run heavy sets. Maybe there will be some sets where you're going to have some tight ends close in on the line, and it's just Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. And that's probably going to be enough. That's probably going to be enough if you're able to get the defense to load the box. He's going to be able to see some more cover. It's very similar, as you said, and as Matt said, to his time in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. Not the same caliber, but the same mindset, I think.
I mean, I think your thinking and your concept is dependent on them still being, that would be a great running team, but still being a good running team. I got to see you guys be able to repeat that now that people are keen and onto that, which isn't impossible, but that's a different challenge. But Matt, to your point, a former wide receiver coach who loves wide receivers. He's also Nick Sirianni, I'm talking about, has this affinity with Jalen Hurts. I would sometimes say it's a little bit too buddy, like wearing him on your shirt at practice, but he has an affinity to Jalen Hurts. And I think he has a personal investment on seeing Jalen Hurts develop and succeed. That lends me to think the ball's going to go in the air more than it did last year. Miles is still going to get his touches. The offense is still going to be creative, still going to run the ball. But I think he's going to want to use Jalen Hurts, help him develop, and he's going to want to use the shiny new $100 million toy that just drove on the lot. Like, he's going to want to use that. I think you guys become more of a passing team this year. We'll see how it goes.
Ultimately, game script, like if they're down a ton, yeah, they're going to pass more than they're going to run.
Sure.
So there's some of that plays into it. I just think when evaluating Jalen Hurts, and furthermore, like, yeah, he definitely wants him to be successful because that was the first really franchise quarterback he's been given. And I think that the way to make Jalen Hurts look the best he can possibly look is, number one, winning football games, and number two, doing it efficiently. And in my opinion, at least in the early going, until Jalen Hurts has proven, hey, I'm not the same guy as last year. I can really survive throwing the ball 40 to 50 times per game if needed, not every game. Until that happens, I think you're going to see a lot of play action and a lot of a heavy run attack. But that doesn't mean like Jalen Hurts isn't going to throw the ball differently than he did last year. Maybe he airs it out more and now gets more air yards and more, completion or touchdowns because he's airing the ball out. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see because I agree with you. Like, this is a big year for Jalen Hurts and Sirianni. So we'll see where they go.
The answer to your question, James, is basically it depends on how good Jalen Hurts is. If Jalen Hurts steps up again and has like a top 10 quarterback season next year, they're going to throw the ball more. If he struggles and has a middling quarterback season, they're going to run the ball basically the same as they did last year because they're going to play to their strengths.
Right. How long are you willing to wait and see which one folds out? Because you don't know that in the first 3 weeks. The first 2 weeks or the first 3 weeks.
It took Sirianni 7 weeks to learn the offense last year.
It took the head coach 7 weeks to learn his own playbook.
To learn. No, he changed his entire philosophy for the team.
Right.
After they started 2-5.
Well, because someone started pointing out, like, hey, man, I know the game plan isn't working, but we're low-key running the ball for like 150, 200 yards a game. Like,
on accident.
You want to keep running the ball?
Have you looked at our yards per carry? Like,
I'm telling you, it was on accident. We're not even trying to do it, and it's just happening. So I guarantee you it's on accident. All right.